All right, what's up? What's good? What's happening? What it do, baby? You are tuned in to another episode of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. It's your boy Xavier, aka X, aka Zay, joined by my brother from another Kory Blackshear. Y'all know him as KB. KB, what's going on, bro?
Man, living. How y'all doing out there? Hope y'all having had a great week so far. I'm glad it's about to be Friday. No work for me tomorrow, so I'm living good. Matt, what's going on?
Going good, man. Thank y'all for having me. It's appreciate being here. Like KB said, man, TGIF. We almost there.
At this point, y'all, Matt done been on the show so much that we don't even really give Matt that proper introduction anymore. Y'all know who Matt Craig is at this point, Muhammad Craig. Y'all know who he is at this point.
Yeah. I thank y'all for having me on so much. It's always good to be around like-minded individuals, especially when it comes to things like sports, something we all grew up loving. And we're talking to people that know what they're talking about. Because sometimes you get stuck in barbershop talk, and you be in them conversations like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out. Y'all can have it. Y'all can have it. I'm not about to argue with you about that.
100. So it had been a slow week for the most part because we're coming off of the Super Bowl happening last week, NBA going into All-Star break. The NHL is on a break right now, even though we don't really talk much about that right now. The only thing that's really been going on is the Olympics. And then we had some things pop off last night in the college basketball world. Darryn Peterson, man. And Matt, we've already talked a little about this in the past few months, just in terms of his availability. Is he injury prone? This wasn't an injury that ended up happening last night, but he played 19 minutes, scored 23 points, and after scoring a basket, looked over at Bill Self and looked to motion, hey, take me out. And everybody's still trying to figure out what's happening. So Darryn Peterson has either missed games or had games shortened because of cramps. He missed a game because of the flu. He's had knee soreness issues at the beginning of the season, I believe it was, Matt, as to why he was missing a couple of games. Before I hand it off to Matt and KB on this, I want to say this. There is no question that Darryn Peterson's talent is the top of the charts. Some of the best that you've ever seen from a prospect, for sure. But for those who have been listening in on this show, as we have talked about college basketball in the moments that we have talked about it, and Matt, you know this for a fact because I say it damn near every week in our group chat. My number one pick all this time has been AJ DeBonsa. And part of why is because of Darryn Peterson's availability or sometimes lack thereof. And last night it was put on full display for everybody to see. We are still trying to figure out why that young man checked himself out of the game. Bill Self didn't even understand why that young man checked himself out of the game. And after what happened last night, and I've heard this throughout shows throughout the course of the day, but there is no way in good faith that I believe that an NBA general manager should take that guy number one overall. Again, I know his talent is right there at the top of the charts. But you subbing yourself out of games, it makes me question some things about your character a little. Like, what exactly are you trying to, what's your end game here? And shout out to Lawrence, because he asked me a question last night in the group chat too. He's not on the show tonight. But he asked me, and I don't think this is what Darryn Peterson's trying to do, but he did ask me, because we got into a discussion about all of the prospects that we see this year that could potentially come out for this year's NBA draft. And it's a loaded draft if they all come out. But I asked the question, should they all come out? And my reason for it was because, hey, some of these organizations out there, I wouldn't want to go to some of these places. Like, I'll just go ahead and mention one for you. The Sacramento Kings. If I'm lined up to go to the Sacramento Kings, I'm going back to college. I'm going to collect some more NIL money, and hopefully I give myself a better chance of going somewhere different than next year. But Lawrence asked me, do you feel that some of these guys are tanking their value, and how do you feel about that? And my thing was, if I'm a general manager, and Matt, you are the de facto GM when it comes down to this stuff, because you have aspirations of wanting to be an NBA general manager one day. So I'm very curious on what your answer is on this too, because I noticed that you didn't chime in on it. I really was curious to see what you had to say. When it comes down to things like that, and again, I'm not saying that's what Darryn Peterson's doing, players who look like they might be tanking their value to try to end up in a better situation or a better organization or a more winning situation right off the bat. My answer to it was I wouldn't draft that player because it makes me question some things about your character. Because when you get to the league, it's an 82 game regular season. Are you going to have some nights where we play teams that you're not interested in playing and you hot dog it, or dare I say, even load manage? But Matt, the floor is yours on this one because I know that's your guy. Kansas is your team, and they're not out there losing games without Darryn Peterson for the most part either. But this is pretty alarming what I would say we're seeing with him right now. Wouldn't you at least agree with that?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the crazy thing about it, so I saw you and Law's conversation on it, and then I saw a lot of conversations about it on like the internet and like the sound like an old man internet, but yeah, on the web, on social media. And I actually haven't had the chance to watch many takes on it yet. So I saw like self talk about it. I saw Bill's interview, I mean post game interview on it. I saw that. But like all the take like Jalen Green, a couple of the Stephen A and them talked about it this morning. Get up talked about it on Colin Cowherd show. So I really haven't watched any of those takes. So I really don't know. I don't know the public's stance on it. I kind of got a inkling of what Stephen A. saying. Like he pretty much wouldn't take them. I saw like that headline, but I didn't see the whole tape. So this is just me speaking on what I'm seeing and how I feel about it with no biases from anybody else's influences. And for me, and I said this a while back, and I'm gonna continue to say it now. If I was a GM, like X mentioned, I have aspirations to be a GM, the GM of the Houston Rockets preferably, but I take any team. I can help turn the Sacramento Kings around. But if I was a GM, it would be hard as a GM to convince the owner to take DP over AJ. It just will be hard because everything AJ's doing, he's showing up, he's playing through injuries. He's carrying like a subpar team. He's still going out there performing, putting up big numbers. He has the size, he has the numbers, he has all the measurables. He has so much going for him. It would be hard for me to say like, hey, we should take DP over him off his talent when he's showing everything that X talk about as far as pulling himself out of games, you know, right before a game saying like, "Hey, I'm sick, I can't play," like just stuff like that that just doesn't look good for a player that you expect to be your franchise player. Now, is he talented? I still think he's the most talented player in the draft, and I think many other people still think that. But it's like it's something about that motor. It's something about that dog mentality. It's something about the mentality period that sometimes you question because you would hate to still draft a player just based on his talent, and then when he get there, he just doesn't have that mentality. And then I know this is another Louisiana guy, LSU guy. I mean, he didn't go, he's not from Louisiana, but he's an LSU guy. Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons had questions about his motor coming out of college. Ben Simmons had questions about his commitment coming out of college, his interest coming out of college. How if people don't remember, Ben Simmons' second half of his NCAA career, he didn't show up for the spring semester. He just said, "I'm just not coming," and just didn't show up. The team just sent him away because he wasn't going to class. He wasn't really showing up to practice, and the coach was just like, "Bro, I'm not putting up with this. Just go away. Like whatever you want to go to the draft, go to the draft. Then I'm not putting up with it." And that's what happened to Ben Simmons. And Bill, to his credit, people are telling him he should do that. Like Kendrick Perkins and everybody, like they said, Bill, you should just send him away. Like you are Hall of Fame, legendary, two-time national championship coach. If anybody could send a top-ranked player home, it's you. But Bill kind of been playing it on some like, hey, I'm trying to be understanding. Hey, I'm trying to work with the young man. Hey, y'all don't really know what's going on. I'm in communication with his parents. I'm in communication with him. When he's out, we just believe it. Now, the most I seen Bill do was his last post game interview. That kind of gave me that kind of gave me an idea that Bill kind of getting tired of it. Like early on, he was just like, I'm just trying to be understanding. I'm just working with him. We know what's going on. Y'all don't really know what's going on. We just go see. But this last night after that game, Bill was just like, yeah, I mean, we didn't know he wasn't go. We didn't know he was done playing. We got a good 18 minutes out of him. he had 20-something points. He was in line for a big night. We didn't think he was only gonna play 3 minutes. And that was my first time I feel like Bill kind of like he said it in a nice way, in a nice tone, but that was his way passive aggressively saying like, yeah, I'm getting tired of this shit too. Like low key, I'm getting tired of it too. And like I said, if anybody got the right to throw a player out or like bench a player or say a player, man, go to the league if you want to go to the league, it's Bill. He might be arguably the best coach in college basketball right now. If he's not the
Okay,
best in
but
your
I gotta
eyes,
ask you
he's
a
no lower
question
than
real quick. I gotta ask you this question
yeah.
real quick because no doubt with his credentials he can do that. But have you ever seen Bill Self react to a player like that of any sort?
Nah, nah. That's not Bill's mentality. That's just not him. That's just not his mentality, man. He just more easygoing. He get intense when it comes to games. He lock in. He's the coach of all coaches, but he's never been like a Bobby Knight. He's never been like a the coach up there at I forget his name Dan Early. He never been like the coach in UConn. He never been like that type of aggressive type of guy. Even the Tom Izzo. Like he never been that type of coach. Bill was always been like an easygoing coach. He go coach you hard. He go make sure you ready to play. And he go out there and compete. And he'll go out there and win. But he never been like a more like a mean type of guy. He never gave up that off. So that's a great point, X. He never been that type of guy. So it's hard for people to expect him to be that. But just to talk about the DP point, I'm gonna throw it over to you so not to get too long. He's a talented player. He plays for my Kansas Jayhawks. I've been a Kansas Jayhawks fan since 2007. So I've been there through like a lot of ups and downs with my Kansas Jayhawks. I watched them win 2 championships. I watched them lose a lot of big games in the tournament when they was the number 1 seed overall and they lost in the round of 32. So I've been heartbroken by Kansas and I had some great days by Kansas. I just hate how this is happening, and I'm with you, X. It's no way as a GM I can walk in my owner's office and convince him to take anybody over AJ right now. And it's not simply because AJ is like, if AJ was like way less talented than DP, it would be okay. It'd be hard for me to not convince that. But their talent
Agreed.
level is like 1A, 1B. It's close. It's not like AJ. It's not like DP 1,000 times. It's not like LeBron versus Melo. It's like and Melo is a hell of a player, a Hall of Fame player, a great player to have on your team. But at the end of the day, 100 out of 100 times, a person will pick LeBron. So it's like it's close. It's already close. It's not that big of a difference. So I'm saying, hey, you got to take AJ. The mentality he's showing up every night, carrying his team. And DP, what he's been doing has been unfortunate, and that's why I was laughing when X added this to the script for us to talk about, because it's like, dang, I got to go on record talking bad about my Jayhawks. When I just bad about my Jayhawks, bad about one particular player that's on my Jayhawks. I'm just disappointed at how he been performing and not how he been performing, how he been handling this whole thing, and it sucks because it's like a player's low managing in college, and you don't see players low managing until like 5, 6 years into the NBA career. And now it's a college player, damn near a high school player, low managing to get to be a number 1 pick. And it's just unfortunate to see. And I just hope this doesn't become a trend later on in the career in college. And if it does, David Stern, RP David Stern, but Adam Silver just gonna have to look into that rule and talk to the NCAA about lifting their rule about high school players coming out of going straight to the league. If they go do this, you might as well just let them go.
It's a
Man, I
lot
At
got
this
that
point,
Adam Silver. It's a lot that Adam Silver needs to look into. Man, I got another question for you, but I want KB to go first on this one because this is pertaining more so to the upcoming draft itself and more the prospects involved in it. KB, what you got?
So, I mean, just in pertaining to the whole NIL situation, what we're going to eventually see if we keep seeing situations like this happen, there's going to be some type of contract similar to what some players get in the NBA, where they will, if you are not going to play minimum number of games, whatever that minimum number they come up with, if you don't play a minimum number of games, we could see a situation where they start to void some of that NIL money. Because if we're not getting nothing out of it, what are we paying you for to come here if we're not getting some things out of it? Because let's say, because even when he played AJ in that first game against BYU, he didn't play it much. He didn't play that much over for the overall game. He didn't play much. They still ended up winning, but he didn't play much. And I'm not denying the talent either. Like he's phenomenal when he's out there. But if we crack jokes about Anthony Davis every single time that he's hurt and banged up and he's not available, he got to get that same smoke because of the fact that you're looking at a potential number one pick. You're going to get the keys to someone's franchise. Whoever that is, that's whoever that is. But you're going to get handed the keys to someone's franchise. And right now, we don't know if you're worth that billing because of the fact that you're never out there. And when you are out there, you're phenomenal, but you're never out there consistently enough for me to put my trust into drafting you. Because either you're going to look like a genius or you're going to, be looking for a job in a couple of years if this doesn't hit. I seen someone compare the situation to Markelle Fultz. I don't compare this situation to Markelle Fultz at all. And for the simple fact that Markelle Fultz, when he was out there for Washington, you honestly could see, like, at that time, you could see some people leaning more towards Lonzo. You could see more, but I saw more towards Markelle because he had it all. He didn't have the same situation, but it's just for the fact that I think that Darryn Peterson is going to have to, it's going to have to be some conversation behind some closed doors when it comes to this, because I don't see this getting better. And as far as the University of Kansas, they're looking at it, we have to get something for this investment, because with the NIL money now, it changes the game completely. This is not just simple recruiting where we're just getting high school guys and just recruiting. With the money involved, we got to get something. Like, and if we're on national stages and you're not playing for pretty much a portion of the game, yeah, I mean, I feel like in that point, they're entitled to get some of that money back, because we know what you are. We know what we recruited you as. You 6'6" combo guard as 205 that, can shoot lights out. We just saw him hit, 7 threes before having to check himself out of the game. So we know the talent's there. But like I said, the best ability is availability. And if you're not out there going to war with your guys, even we know, I'm not saying that he's doing this on purpose, because it really wouldn't benefit him to just be out there messing around, checking himself out of the games for no reason. Because regardless of who you go to, being the number one pick is something to be proud of. That is something to be proud of no matter what. So it doesn't matter if it's Sacramento. I know what you said, X.
No, KB. No.
I know what you're saying. But at one point,
Sacramento should not be allowed to have a number one overall pick. That's how bad it is.
I get it. But at one point, that was Cleveland. Cleveland was looked at as, if you got drafted there, because you remember, it was at one point Cleveland was always ending up with the number one pick. And if you guys in there, it was like career cemetery for you. Shout out Anthony Bennett. But what I'm saying is that,
hey, I just want to say the part about them might adding, like, you got to pay a certain amount of games to get your NIL. I like that a lot. I just want to add that in there.
Yeah,
they should really look into that.
It makes perfect sense when you think about it. And I'm only saying add that if you see a uptick, like, trend going on where you have these highly recruited players. Like, of course, you aren't saying that about everybody, but you're talking about guys in the ESPN top 300, especially a guy who's looking at being the number one pick. That's a lot of investment that you're going to put into one guy. So you put that investment into a guy, you want him to play a certain amount of games. It's just, and it does nothing for their title chances if he's not out there. They stand no chance, in my opinion, to go deep into that tournament if he's not out there. Now, whether he gets it to that tournament and says, you know what, I'm preparing for the draft, I'm not playing, there's no benefit to me, that's a whole nother situation, because we've seen guys not want to play in certain tournaments if their team doesn't make it to a certain point. Just like if they made it to, like, the NIT tournament, there would be no benefit to him playing in the NIT tournament. That would make more sense.
I'm actually glad you said that, though, KB, because I actually was going to ask you this question. I'll still ask it. You pretty much already answered it, though. Kansas has been winning games without DP out there when he's not out there. But do you feel like that's a situation pretty much like the 2012 Bulls, who were winning games without Derrick Rose, but then when it really mattered, we saw how cooked they really were?
I mean, it's cute, but like I said, basketball is not like football or any other sport. When you're talking about a one game sample size, anybody can beat anybody in one game. So they can do whatever they are doing in the regular season. We see that it's a completely different atmosphere once March Madness starts. We've seen 12 seeds upset 5 seeds. We've seen 15 seeds upset 1 seeds. Like we've seen these teams that barely got in go on runs. Loyola Chicago, like we saw these teams make these runs. VCU at one point was that team. We saw Florida Gulf Coast be that team before. So we've seen teams literally get in. Nobody knows who they are. They've not been on the national stage. The only people that are fans of them are the ones that support the school. Do I think they make a run without him? No. Could they win a game? Possibly, depending on who they match up with, or maybe a game or two. But you do realize that you are one of the blue bloods of college basketball. So literally everybody has tape on every single player on that team. Every single player. So it's not like I said, playing an underdog where you literally don't have that time or that amount of energy to put into scouting them like in a one game situation. People have been seeing you. So depending on who you match up with, it could be someone from your own conference. You never know. It just depends on how the seeding goes, but I don't think they go on a run. I just don't. Just the same way I think that like with AJ. Yeah, even if you were to win a couple of games without AJ, do I feel confident that you would do that? You would go on a run without AJ? Absolutely not. And I'm more higher. I'm higher on AJ like you. I'm higher on AJ than I am on Darryn Peterson. Regardless of the situation, I think that AJ allows you to do more from an offensive and defensive side. That's just my personal opinion. So he would be over if I'm a GM ranking these guys. AJ would still be my number one pick. I do see the appeal of Darryn Peterson, but like I said, I don't think that they can count on those two teams making a run, specifically Kansas, just because they've been winning games. I can't go that far and say that they would make that run in the playoff. I mean, I'm sorry, in the tournament without their star. I just don't see it.
Before I throw it back over to Matt, as March Madness gets closer, I do want to say this about both of these prospective players, Darryn Peterson and AJ DeBonta. As spectacular as they are, it's a chance they both are probably home pretty early in this tournament. I don't even know at this point if BYU is even going to make the tournament. And I'm just being real about that. The number one overall pick could very well not even play in the March Madness tournament. And that would be shameful. But I want to throw it back to Matt, and I want to ask him this question because we saw Rich Paul come out a couple of days ago, and he said that when it's all said and done, what everybody will know is that Caleb Wilson is actually the best player in this upcoming draft. So would it shock you, Matt, because we've done all this talking about AJ and Darryn, would it shock you if a team landed the number one overall pick and they actually chose Caleb Wilson? I was going to throw Cam Boozer in there as one of those, but I don't think Cam Boozer's viewed as highly as he was before the season started anymore. Would that shock you if Caleb Wilson were to go number one overall?
It would actually shock me. I would be very surprised. Caleb is good. I like his talent. I like his skill set. I like what he brings to the table. I like his measurables. More so than anything in his game, his playing style is really good. But I just think DP and AJ DeBanza is like in a class of their own when it comes to this draft. And I feel like Caleb could end up being one of the better players in this draft, like Rich Paul said. But it come down to one of those things. X, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be willing to take that chance of not taking him and him proving me wrong than going the other way.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, because KB brought up the Markelle Fultz point. Going back to that draft, obviously, Markelle Fultz was the name that a lot of folks had viewed as the top prospect, except for one team in particular who said, and I don't know how truthful this is, they said that even if their guy had been available at number one and they had the number one pick, they still would have taken their guy at number one. And that was the Boston Celtics taking Jason Tatum. You don't think there's any chance that we might be overhyping one of, if not both of these guys in DP and AJ? and Caleb could end up actually being the Jason Tatum of this draft?
No, it's very possible. It's extremely possible. I wouldn't be able to take that risk for me personally. But what you're saying is likely. I mean, it's not likely. It's possible and it could happen. But I would still be stuck on AJ or DP for my pick. I just would have to. Caleb is good, hell of a talent. I think he's right at number 3 behind those two. And I said this on the group chat last night. This could be one of those drafts where the top tier guys may be the best guys, but the guys that come after them are not guys that you can just like say, "Oh, that's a scrub," or "He's not that good," or like they could be. It's like I gave this example last night. The 2020 draft class. You had the top guys in Anthony Edwards and Melo Ball and stuff like that. Those are the top guys. Those are the All NBA, the All Stars, the MVP. Hopefully one day for Ant. Those are the top guys. But later in that draft, you still had some pretty good guys that can play. You know what I'm saying? You still have some hoopers that can play. You had a Tyler Harrisburg. You had a Tyrese Maxey. Those guys don't compare to Anthony Edwards as far as talent level. But those guys are franchise guys, and they can carry their team to NBA Finals like Tyler Harrisburg did. We'll see what Maxey do in Philly, but it's starting to transition to Philly being his team. You go back to the 2018 draft, the top guy was Luka Doncic, as far as the most talented guy. He didn't go number 1. DeAndre Ayton went number 1, which was a mistake. But Luka is the top guy. He's the MVP. He's the guy that.
Before you keep going with that, because I don't mean to cut you off, because you said this last night in the group chat. And I wanted to chime in then, but I chose to save it for this. Yes, Luka was the top talented guy in that draft, Matt. But how many of us here on domestic soil actually knew that? And that does include general managers.
No. Coming into the draft, a lot of people wasn't aware of how talented Luka can be. Yeah, so like coming into the draft, I'm saying even looking in hindsight, like even looking back, Luka ended up being the best guy in the draft. And I'm saying to this day, looking back, Luka was the best guy in the draft and still is the best guy in that draft. But you still have some good guys that went in that draft that's not on Luka's level, but are hell of a players. Jalen Brunson, hell of a player. He's not on Luka's level as far as talent wise, but he's an all NBA player. He's an all-star. He's carrying his team to the playoffs. He's a great player. You got guys that could be looked at as better than Luka from that class either. SGA went in that same draft class. Some guys, I mean, 2-3 years ago, it was crazy to mention SGA in the same conversation as Luka. Today, some people might put SGA over Luka. So it's just like my point is Caleb may be one of those guys that he may not be good as AJ. He may not be good as DP. But when it's all said and done, Caleb may be on the Utah Jazz, averaging 25 points a game, carrying them to the playoffs every year and putting up buckets. And AJ may be, let's say, the Miami Heat, making championship runs, all NBA player, MVP, still doing his thing, and they both are good players in their own right. One guy's clearly better than the other one, but the other guy's no slouch, and he can hold his own. So that's why I'm thinking this draft class may end up being.
I'm gonna chime in on that, Matt, because I think that it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that Caleb Wilson could sneak in there, a la like a Jason Tatum. I seen him play earlier this season at a game against Georgia Tech. And I understand exactly why you said that you would still pick AJ, you would still pick Darryn Peterson. But there may be a GM that is super, super concerned with what he's seeing with Darryn Peterson. And to be honest, Caleb Wilson does everything that you would want on a basketball court. He runs the floor really well. He has great court vision. He can stretch the floor. He can be a good size 3 stretch 4. He can play that role, and he also works off the block too. So he does a lot of things that a lot of NBA GMs are looking at like, man, I would love to get him in the building because, like I said, all of this is circumstantial based off of who's picking where. But I would not be surprised if someone were to take a flyer out on Caleb Wilson because, like I said, he's available. He can block shots. He can do a lot of things that you require from someone that you're trying to hand the keys of the franchise to. And the best thing is he plays, he's available. It's gonna be. I feel like that because of certain recent picks that we've had that didn't necessarily pan out, and some that had like injury history concern for a lot of teams, they may very well back out of Darryn Peterson if this is if this trend continues. Because, like I said, when you're looking at guys like Jason Tatum was, arguably the best player out of his draft. Actually, I think he's definitively now the best player out of his draft. But it was just a reason that Markelle Fultz, with everything that he had going on, he still went number one. Everything that Lonzo had, he still went number two. Jason Tatum didn't have the same type of PR that those guys had. Caleb Wilson could sneak in just like how Jason Tatum did, just sneak in, and he could end up being the best player out of all of them. He really could because he has that type of talent. I think that it's going to be based off of who's picking where, and if Darryn Peterson continues this trend of checking himself out of games, and not playing portions of games, and Kansas ends up going home early. I think a lot of GMs are looking at all of this right now. We saw how many scouts were out at the game, the BYU and Kansas game. A lot of GMs, a lot of scouts, a lot of head coaches, they were there at that game. They noticed when Darryn Peterson did not play, things started to get a little funky at the end. So they noticed all of this. I feel like that, we can't discount how some of these GMs are thinking about it, because some of these guys are fighting for their job just as much as these players are. So they don't want their next move to be their last move. That's my only concern with Darryn Peterson. You don't want to get him, and now he's not playing, and you were counting on him to be a part of your future plans for the next like 5 to 10 years. So that's the only thing I got to say about the Caleb Wilson situation. I think he could be somewhere in that 2 to 3 range, depending on what you prefer in the player.
You're not wrong on that at all, KD. But here's the thing. If somebody did, and this is just a risk you take on this, unfortunately. If you don't draft Darryn Peterson because of his availability issues, and somebody else gets him, and he ends up being the best player in this draft and one of the best players in the league, and the guy that you do draft ends up not really being that, could be still a good player, but he's not that could cost you your job too, and it will cost you your job.
Honestly, that's why I would take him. I think taking him and him proving to be what he is now in college as far as load management, I think that's safer than taking him and he end up being a superstar.
Yeah,
That's
but see,
right. I think an owner would be okay with you taking him 1, 2, or 3, and seeing like, okay, we just basing off his talent. We'll see what he is as a player. He get in the league. He end up not being that load manager, whatever the case may be. But if you don't take him and somebody at 5, 6 get him and he end up being like a superstar, you'll look back at that like, oh, I can't believe we did.
He's not falling to 5 or 6. That won't
yeah,
happen.
I don't see him the lowest.
I'm just saying I'm saying if he go anywhere other than 1, if he go 2, if you don't take him at 1 and he go 2, if you don't take him at 2 and he go 3, I'm just saying anybody that skip on him at any point, you take that risk of him being the best player in the NBA at some point, and you'll be known as a GM that didn't take Darryn Peterson.
I don't know about that though, Matt, because you still got AJ out there. And AJ is easily somebody else that you could take at that number 1 spot. And if you were to miss on Darryn Peterson, I think the owner would still be more forgiving about that, because honestly, it's not even 1 and 2 with those two. It's more like 1A, 1B. And everybody else kind of just falls where they fall.
And I think with what y'all are saying is correct. Only thing I say that is just the risk that you run, because of the fact we've seen that in drafts, like you just said about the 2018 draft class. There was, when you're talking about just domestically, we're looking at DeAndre Ayton. He was clearly the number 1 pick just because of what you were able to see. We weren't able to see games of Luka. The general public wasn't able to see Luka play on national TV every single weekend. That wasn't something that we were able to see. We were able to see Trey. We were able to see guys like I believe wasn't Jaren Jackson in that class as well?
Jaren Jackson was in that
Yeah.
class too, but
Jaren Jackson,
another player who was in that
They're
class,
young.
and I'm a fan of this team, Duke, Marvin Bagley. I don't know how he went as high as he did.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing though. So it is going to be a risk. And then also sometimes you have those teams that draft based off of the best player available, and then you got those that draft based off of position need. I think this is a draft class. You just draft the best available player. I don't think you care about positional need at this point because it's positionless basketball now, anyways. So we don't care necessarily if Caleb Wilson was to fall to a team. I don't think that they're gonna lose sleep over is he gonna play the 2, the 3, the 4. We just know he's gonna have to get plugged in somewhere. Darryn Peterson, he could very well be that superstar talent. I just say that it is a concern. It has to be a concern right now because we've seen where guys honestly, they come into the league with concerns, and those concerns are still going. I think that you don't like. I don't see him going outside of the top 2. I just think that, like you and Matt said, we know who 1A, 1B, and really, just take your pick. You can get you not really wrong with either way you go because if you say Darryn Peterson's our guy, I'm not mad at it. If you say AJ's our guy, I'm definitely not mad at it. If you look at it to where, you know, Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, those are kind of like, I mean, we're happy, but we're not as happy as we could be. Like, we got somebody that could be a great player, but sometimes, like, I look at Cam Boozer, he may be a project. He just might be a project. With his skill set, he would be an undersized big. That's just what it is. He would be a project player. Same thing with Caleb Wilson. He has a lot of raw talent, but he's talented. But we know who the 2 definitive best players are in the draft. They've been the same way since they stepped foot on college campuses. We know that those guys are what they say they are because we've seen their everything as advertised. I just think that, if we're looking at what's going on with the draft and we're looking at what a GM requires, it's really take your pick. I don't think that you can go wrong, but I think passing up on one of those 2 guys, yeah, it might just cost you your job, and you might get Nico Harrison, like you might just get tossed out of town just because you passed up on some, thinking that were the wisest of the wisest guys. But this is one of the most loaded draft classes that we had in a while. So, definitely think that, we have a chance to see one of those 2 guys go number 1. And honestly, I'm not mad at it either way it goes.
Matt, you have any thoughts you want to do to close this one out before we go on to the next topic?
No, I'm good. I got everything.
So speaking of the NBA, the level that these players are trying to get to, they just recently had their All-Star game over the weekend. And I'm going to be very honest when I say this, because Matt knows this for a fact. KB knows it too, because we spoke about this stuff offline. I was not planning on watching the NBA All-Star game this past weekend. I was not feeling the format. I just was not feeling when I heard Anthony Edwards possibly say, I might not even play in the game. I just wasn't feeling the entire thing. And Saturday was such a disappointment with the dunk contest. And we're going to speak on that too. But after that first game, being in our group chat, starting to see some things about the first game, seeing how I'm scrolling on social media like, man, Wemby and Ant set the tone in this one. I turned it on for game 2, and I was locked in the rest of the way. I'm still not necessarily a fan of the format, but the reason I'm not a fan of the format is because I guess I'm more so disappointed in the fact that we even had to go to such a format to get such a competitive All-Star game like we got on Sunday until we got to the last game where the young guys for the USA just ran the old guys for the USA off the court. But you had Ant-Man and Wemby out there going at it. You had Kawhi Leonard putting on a show like it was the 2019 NBA playoffs, the way he was out there competing. It was great. It was a great display of basketball, and it was a much-needed day for the NBA. Matt, I know you had a lot that you were saying about this All-Star game, so go ahead and take the floor on this one.
Y'all, I'm not gonna let X do this to us. I'm not gonna let X revise history on us. We cannot let them do this. Let's talk about the All-Star game for what it is, and let's stop piling on the new generation players. I will say yes, that the game has got bad over the last few years. I'm not discrediting that. They had to shake it up and do something because Steph Curry laying on the ground at half court, allowing people to throw alley hoops. Luka laying on the ground under the goal. Players not even trying. Players letting Anthony Davis get 50 points just because they're playing the All-Star game in New Orleans so he could be MVP. Like it was so much going on that it was getting ridiculous. It just lost its essence. And at some point in our lives, KB and X, y'all can attest to this. Winning the All-Star MVP meant something. I'm not saying it meant winning the MVP. I'm not saying it meant winning Rookie of the Year. I'm not saying it was a major award, but it was something that somebody mentioned when they talked about somebody's accolades. Oh, he's a two-time All-Star MVP. Oh, he won. Who got the most? Kobe got the most All-Star MVPs. Like it meant something. But these last few years, it was just given to whoever the players decided was going to get it that year. Okay, who getting it this year, y'all? Okay, let's feed the ball to AD all game so he can get this is hometown. Let's let him get All-Star MVP. Who will get this? Oh, Westbrook playing the hardest. I bet Westbrook, you got it. Let's go get it. It's yours. Players wasn't even competing; they were just letting whoever got to get it. But the All-Star game was always like a loose, fun game until the fourth quarter. So that's the only thing I'm gonna say about the new format that I did like. I don't like how they selected the players based on world versus US just to fill spots on rosters. Give the All-Star team to whoever the All-Star teams is. If y'all want to break the teams up in 3 different teams, break them up to 3 different teams with the players that selected. But don't make a player that's a world player All-Star just so you can have enough roster spots on the world roster, or don't make a player on the young All-Stars roster just to have enough players. No, give it to anybody that deserves to be an All-Star. Make them an All-Star, regardless if they old, young, from Russia or from America. It don't matter. Make them an All-Star, and then from there, break the teams up into 3 teams, break the team up into 4 teams. If y'all really want to get into it, add more roster spots to the All-Star roster so y'all can make four teams instead of having 3. And the last thing I'm going to say is, X, what I like about the format is even when we was growing up watching AI, Steve Francis, Stephon Marbury, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Shaq, like our legends, Tracy McGrady, our legends, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, like the guys that we grew up on that we love to watch on Saturday afternoon, waking up, Sunday afternoon after church, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. There'll be the primetime game coming on, and it'll be the Lakers versus the Boston Celtics. And we just used to sit around and just watch these games. And on Saturday night on basketball, watching the Saturday night basketball game, it was just amazing. So I say that to say what they did, what made it competitive was by making every quarter a fourth quarter. Even when we watched it back then, games didn't get competitive until the fourth quarter. So what they did was they made every quarter a fourth quarter because you're only playing one quarter, one 12-minute, 15-minute quarter. So instead of playing 2, 3, 4, 5 quarters, where y'all can play around for these first 3 quarters and get serious in the fourth quarter, we're going to make y'all get serious in the first quarter and make that the fourth quarter, and that's it. And that's what I think made it competitive, and that's what I liked about it.
Those are very valid points that you're making on that. I also think that just in general, though, it helps that the guy who is more than likely going to be the next face of the league, Wemby, he came out there and he set the tone. And he said days before the game that he was going to help get things back right. And that's exactly what it appears he did, KB, because he went out there, he set the tone, he was playing hard, he was playing defense, and that is what was the trending effect that really helped get that thing going.
Yeah, I mean, like, shout out to him for doing that. Because we always see, like, all it takes is for a few to start doing it, and then it's like trendy. Okay, now they're trying, okay, I'll try a little bit. But, I hate that, it's gotten to this point that we got to basically incentivize players, and we got to do this, we got to try this format, we got to do all of these different things because, I know as much as, a lot of people say, man, the talent is better today. Yeah, the talent could be better, but they also are lazy. They also I'm not even going to say lazy. I'm gonna say that they're very lackadaisical when it comes to their legacies. Their legacies don't mean as much to them as their brand does. So a lot of them don't really see the benefit of competing hard in the All-Star game. I think for me, this is just my opinion. The last All-Star game that I watched that I can say, man, there's a lot into it, was the 2020 All-Star game when they paid tribute to Kobe. That had a lot of emotion. It had a lot of intensity. Those guys were actually out there trying to hoop. Like, we saw it. Like, you could just feel it. You had like that picture that everyone had pretty much kind of got a frame of LeBron at the top of the key, everybody, the crowd standing up. You can't replicate certain stuff like that, because it's either you gonna play hard, give emotion, or you're not. And if you're not gonna give emotion, you can't expect the crowd to want to see it. Like, we always talk about, like, amongst all the major sports, who has the worst All-Star game. And at one point before this year, it was I mean, for me, it's still the NFL. The NFL Pro Bowl is just a joke at this point. I don't want to see it. I don't care to watch it. It is what it is. But the NBA was falling into that territory too, because they were just basically a glorified layup line. It was basically, oh yeah, we're gonna pretty much do nothing for the majority of the game. The last 3 minutes, 4 minutes of the game, we'll try to act like we're gonna do anything of significance. But I think that for me, y'all, I'm gonna be honest. I want to see this return back to the East-West format. I know I sound like an old head when it comes to it, but I really want to see it go back to the East-West format, and I want to see each player represent their team with their team jersey. I know that's kind of what we grew up on. I just prefer it that way, because when I look at it, like, those guys, it give it more of a retro feel. And if you really want to think about it, it may bring back some interest level to the All-Star game. Because I felt like, while I commend Adam Silver for trying to do everything he can to bring back fan interest, to help the players seem interested, I think that it's a different era nowadays. Like I said, the brand is more important, I feel like, for a lot of these younger players, than their legacy. I think that, certain guys, they still got that mentality. They want to go out and kill no matter what, no matter where. You got guys like Wemby that got that mentality. They got a dog-like mentality. They want to kill no matter where it's at. They want that responsibility. And him being the face of the league, is kind of good to see that he has that dog in him that wants to compete, no matter if we're doing this just out of fun or whatever. So I do want to see, I would love to see, and I've seen a lot of people asking for the return of the East-West format, but only, I think it's just because I think that would drive engagement a long way, just because you are going to have those fans, not casual fans, but fans that really love the NBA, that would love to see that come back. And it kind of could, if they do it right, if the players hold up their end and the NBA holds up their end, you could have a lot of people who may not necessarily be, true diehard fans of the NBA, get interested into the NBA again. So I would love to see it personally. I would love to see, everyone wear their team jersey. You split it back up to East and West, regardless of, world or whatever, I just want to see it like that. That's just my personal opinion.
So you bring up the engagement point, KB. I think we do have to note that this was the most viewed All-Star game in the last 15 years. That's what the numbers are telling us. Matt, you look like you had something you wanted to chime in on all of this.
I mean, KB, your point about East versus West, I'm old school. I like that too. I like going back to East versus West, and also I want to point out X what you said about who was it? Wemby. His mentality coming into the game set the tone. Even Anthony Edwards, who people want to be the face in the NBA, he even said it in his after the first game, his post game interview. He said, "Man, Wemby said we was playing hard. He came out and played hard. That got all us going. All us start playing hard. Like we had no choice based on how he was playing. Like he kind of set the tone for us, and they kind of got everybody going. And then like you just love to hear that from a young guy like Wemby to come in your third, fourth year and still within your rookie contract to say, "Hey, I respect my elders. I respect the LeBron. I respect the KDs. I respect the Stephs. I respect the Kawhis. I respect y'all. but that not competing in the All-Star game, them days over. Like them days over. Like we compete now. The fans come out here to see us. The fans support us all year. We playing, and the players and X would know this as a historian. The players said back in the day, they said that's how Kobe was. Like Kobe would come in there with the mentality is like, bruh, like I'm competing. Like y'all can come out there playing, but I'm locking up. I'm playing defense. Like every day, up and down, I'm playing defense. I'm not letting you get no freebies, no nothing. I'm playing defense. Either you lock in or you will get locked up all game. So it's just like a young player having that mentality is great. And like for him to set that tone, like for him to not like lean on the older guys and be like, okay, I'm just do. If y'all say we not playing hard, we not gonna play hard. If y'all say we playing hard, then we go. He's like, no, regardless of what y'all got going on, I'm playing hard. Now, what you do with that is on you, but I'm playing hard, and you just got to respect that. And I'm glad Wimby went out there with that type of mentality, and hopefully it carry on, and hopefully he don't lose the mentality as years go on, and other players pick up on it.
Considering who he was hanging around in the offseason, Matt, I don't think we have to worry about that anytime soon. Wemby was in China with the Monks. He worked out with Kevin Garnett. I want to say he worked out with Hakeem too. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but I know for a fact he was working out with Kevin Garnett because I remember seeing the pictures of that. So, yeah, shout out to Wemby. Thank you for setting the tone on all of this. But I also feel like we have to note this too. It almost feels like the players had no choice but to go out and give us a great, entertaining game of basketball on Sunday because Saturday was so atrocious. Outside of the three-point contest, Saturday was awful. I didn't even really watch it. I just saw highlights of it on social media. And, man, I don't want to say that it's time for the dunk contest to be retired or to go away because I still have hope that it can come back and that it can be great again. But what we saw on Saturday cannot continue to be a thing of the norm. We cannot have basic windmill dunks winning the dunk contest. I'm sorry. We can't have things like that. And we also have to have some bigger names out there. Shout out to all the competitors who competed in there. We appreciate you doing that. But the names just are not big enough to draw the eyes to the screen.
Yeah, I told you, man. I really feel like that these players care more about their brand than their legacy. Because just like Matt said about the All-Star Game MVP, being a slam dunk champion was something that, that was a rite of passage in the league, man. Everybody used to do it. That used to solidify your resume, not necessarily solidify like a championship or an MVP or a first team All NBA, but it was kind of like you had at certain points you went from Michael and Dominique going at it, Dominique and Spud going at it, Vince Carter going at it with T-Mac, Kobe winning it. You had some dunk contests, Nate Robinson and Dwight Howard. I'm just naming a few. Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine. That was possibly the peak of where we got with the All-Star, with the dunk contest for the All-Star weekend. I just think that we are losing a lot of what this was supposed to be. And I think that it's also because that, guys are worried about embarrassing themselves because we talk a lot about some guys are more in-game dunkers and some are more performative dunkers. They don't necessarily always intertwine with each other. Like, you got a lot of guys that came out just flatly and plainly said no. Then you had guys like LeBron teasing it for years. He teased it so much that it was kind of like, all right, bro, if you're not going to do it, just go ahead and tell us you're not going to do it. But teasing it, he preliminarily put his name into the dunk contest 1 year, just not to do it. The very next year, he just didn't do it. But it used to be where the stars were doing All-Star Weekend. The stars wanted to compete in the skills challenge. The stars wanted to compete in the three-point contest, dunk contest. They wanted to be a part of something. And now it's kind of just like, well, it's kind of like the trendy thing. Well, if he ain't doing it, I'm not doing it. You seen just like with Dame, he told that him, Steph, Clay, they're all going to link up and do the three-point contest next year. So if we can get some of these guys to just put the brand aside, because like I said, they feel like they don't have much to benefit from doing these dunk contests. It could hurt them more than help them. That's what a lot of those guys think. Because we would love to see a guy like a dunk contest featuring somebody like Ant Edwards, Ja Morant. We want to see guys like that go at it, but unfortunately, some guys are just not creative enough to come up with their own dunks. Like to win a contest, they can do it in game. Just because you dunk powerful doesn't mean you're a creative dunker. Some guys just don't have that creative gene in them. Matt McClung does, because I saw some of the dunks that he did that he would have pulled out. He would have won easily. He would have won going away because this dunk contest sucked. I'm gonna just be plain, like giving in, like plain and direct. This dunk contest sucked. Even the winner, I Johnson, I cannot recall his first name. X, you'll have to help me out on that one. Keshad Johnson, I believe. Yeah, Keshad Johnson. I get it. He was trying to bring energy, but the dancing, it was cringe level dancing because the dunks were not even good enough for me to even do anything. I would have danced with him if it was something that got me out of my seat. I'd have hit a little dance at the house. I didn't get that vibe from it. I didn't get that vibe from anything. Jace Richardson, hey brother, it might be that time. Just might be that time. Ain't nothing wrong getting a CDL, my boy. It is nothing wrong. You got the Richardson last name, I understand, but you almost got a concussion in a dunk contest. I ain't never
And
seen
I'm
that
thankful,
before.
and I'm thankful that that was not as serious as that possibly could have been.
Yeah, man, because that looked bad.
It
Matt,
looked bad.
I'm gonna let you get this one, Matt, because I ain't gonna lie. That might have been one of the worst. The only other one that I could think may have been just as bad. What was the one? Well, it wasn't bad. It just had certain bad moments. Was when I seen Jaylen Brown dunk over Casanat. That killed me. But Jackson Hayes, he getting that smoke too, cause he don't never need to put his name into a dunk contest in his life. I don't care how many East Bay dunks he throws down. Never will he be allowed near a dunk contest again.
And then you saw he posted on Instagram. I don't know if it was real or AI, but he posted on Instagram the side by side picture of him and MJ. If it was AI, my bad. But I saw that it got posted on Twitter. I was just like, come on, dude, chill out. But yeah, that it was tough watching old boy. I was glad he was able to get up. 'Cause I thought he was hurt because he looked like he hit his head. I think he did hit his head. But um, but yeah, man, like the last really good one was probably because at some point we had a string of some good ones when Dwight Howard was doing it, when Nate Robinson was doing it, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, they had some battles, and it was just a string of really good ones, and then it just kind of fell off right before COVID, like right
The
before
last
COVID.
good one, the last good one, in my opinion, Matt, was 2020.
That was
At
Aaron
least the
Gordon.
last good finish. That was the one that had Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon,
Yeah,
Derrick Jones Jr., because Dwayne Wade's score was the reason Aaron Gordon did not win. He robbed him of winning that competition
That
that
was
night.
the taco. That was the taco fall dunk
Yes.
contest. But yeah, that was
Yes.
the last good one.
yeah,
Yep.
and that's when it kind of lost its credibility with the fans, and a lot of players just decided not to go back around that year because like you said, like big names doing it. Like I'm looking at the list, and I just remember it just watching. Like Jalen Green did it at one point, but he was like a rookie. Cole Anthony did it, but he's not really a big name. Like since that year you talking about 2020 was the last one, we haven't had a big name player really do it. The probably biggest name player is probably Obi Toppin, and that's more so off his college career than his NBA career. And Jalen Green, he was like he's a good player. He played for my Houston Rockets, so I was a fan of him. But we just didn't have like the big name players that you're talking about. Like let's go back and look before 2020.
Matt,
We had
before you even go back and look at those names, you brought up Jalen Green's name twice. The dunk contest that he was in, you know the image that runs through my head? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar getting up and walking out and looking like he was disappointed in the entire event.
yeah. No, Jalen didn't do good.
That
I
dunk
want to
contest sucked too. I
yeah,
ain't gonna lie to you. That dunk contest sucked
he did
too.
not do good. I want to make that a point of inference. But but it's just like we had players that used to do it. I mean, okay, let me say this. Even if the player wasn't like a known player as far as a superstar player, we still had some pretty known players that were good dunkers that played on a consistent NBA roster that started that maybe was an all-star, maybe was a friend all-star, but was like good in-game dunkers. We just don't even have that anymore. It's like the players we got not even interested in doing it. It's like Ja Morant. Why didn't you do a dunk contest? Like I know you ain't got the athleticism anymore like you once did, but why didn't you do a dunk contest? Anthony Edwards. Why haven't you done a dunk contest? So it's like we got some good in-game dunkers that could do it. Like Zach LaVine doing it was great. Aaron Gordon did it was great. We got some players that could do it nowadays that not maybe not be the biggest names in the game. Anthony Edwards is. John Moran at one point was that could do it and still bring some notoriety to it. And I know the trendy thing was to blame LeBron James. Like people feel like if LeBron James can pull out, anybody can pull out. But I feel like that's just taking a cop out way. Like do it for the fans. Who cares what LeBron James did? I agree. LeBron James should have did a dunk contest. He played for 20 some years. At one point in his career, he should have done a dunk contest, especially in his early years, and he didn't. But he should have. But even Kobe Bryant did a dunk contest. I remember Kobe Bryant did that cartwheel and he did it between the legs. Like Kobe did a dunk contest. Kobe, he was like what his actually he was like what his first or second year. He was
It
still
was his
young.
rookie year.
Yeah, it
It
was
was his
rookie.
rookie year.
So even Kobe did a dunk contest. So it's just like I just wish more players would take more pride into it. One thing that players are taking more pride into doing is the 3-point contest, though. That's becoming the more exciting thing to watch. You see
Yeah,
Steph.
but you know what? Go ahead, finish your point on that because I got something I want to ask the both of y'all about that.
Yeah, so you see Steph recruiting Dame, he recruiting Clay, he recruiting other these players, and he said, "Hey, let's make it big. Let's all get in it." So it's like the stars are coming out for the 3-point shootout. Why can't stars come out for the dunk contest? Make that better. So it's just the Saturday events, like you said, X was very disappointing as a whole, even down to the skill challenge. And I know that only got changed because Chris Paul and Wemby cheated the last time, or quote unquote cheated the last time. So they changed the whole thing up. Even that was a little cringy. Drewski tried to beam somebody in the head with the ball. Like it was just a little too much. So I guess they need to revamp the skill challenge as well. But overall, and okay, on my last thing, I grew up on the All Star game. I grew up loving the All Star game. I grew up like I was telling my friend
When
when
we
I
were growing up, people used to have all-star game parties. That young generation don't know about that.
they don't know that, man. I was telling when I was in middle school, like middle school, elementary, man. I could like some weekend, like I may be in my granny house, maybe my auntie house, I may be somewhere where I didn't have cable and I couldn't watch it because the All Star game traditionally came up on TNT when I was a kid, so it wasn't on nine cable television. So me being a lover of the game, a lover of the sport, a lover of the All Star Weekend experience, I would have to wait until Monday morning to get around my friends at breakfast to talk to them about what happened in the All Star game. Oh man, such and such did this, such and such did this, such and such did this. It was crazy. Then I have to wait even from that point till I got to computer class to go to get on a proxy website to pull the NBA up to watch highlight clips of the All Star game. That's how much I love the All Star game and the All Star weekend. And it doesn't have that feel anymore. It doesn't have that feel to make somebody want to know what happened so bad. It's like if I miss it, I miss it. If I catch it, I catch it. It's not that big of a deal. But when I was growing up, it was more so a celebration. Like X said, it was like an All Star weekend was a thing. It wasn't as big as the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl in its own class, but it was a thing. It was a thing that people celebrated and came together for to watch, to talk about, that people came around the television to talk about. And now it's kind of like a clown show. And I know it's a lot of responsibility for the NBA because if we look at, I mean, KB brought it up. If we look around all sports, who really does have a good all-star celebrity game? Like, no, what league does? The NBA was really the last really, really good one, and not even that's falling to the wayside. And it's just unfortunate for somebody like me, the young sports fan in me that grew up on this. Love even the rookie versus sophomore game. That was a good entertainment. Watching Kyrie and Brandon Knight go at each other back and forth, and then Kyrie making him fall and hitting the three. That was entertainment. Watching Kemba Walker trade buckets with somebody on like that was entertainment. Like the rookie versus sophomore game was kind of like the coming out party for who was supposed to be up next in the NBA. That's when we saw like okay, we got to watch out for him. And then next year they be in the All Star game. Blake Griffin became an All Star his second year, technically his rookie season, but his second year, and he played in the rookie versus sophomore in the All Star game. So it's just like I can get on the soapbox about the All-Star game because I'm a true lover of it. Just like y'all, I grew up on it, and it's just unfortunate to what it's become. And I just wish it can get some type of feeling back to what it once did, but it may just be all long and gone.
Here's how far we've fallen when it comes to the dunk contest. Y'all remember in 2011 when Blake Griffin jumped over that car in one of those spectacular dunks? And there were people in real time complaining about, oh, it was a smaller car, it was this, it wasn't that. You would take that over what we got on Saturday. That's how far we've fallen in this entire thing. But the question I wanted to ask y'all about this was because you brought up the 3-point contest, and yes, that was great. That was entertaining. Great to see Dame out there literally coming off the men winning the contest. But do y'all think that the 3-point contest has taken such prestige now at this point compared to where it once was on All-Star Weekend because of where we are in the game and the style of play that is now seeming to be the style that everybody is translating to? Do you think that has anything to do with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you gotta think about it, like, because this is one of the few events that we still actually get stars to actually compete in. We just saw Dame come back. He hasn't even played in a game this year, and he came off of an Achilles injury just to compete in that contest. Like, that just shows you that this is more important than the dunk contest. We can't get stars to compete. We can't do anything. But with the 3-point contest, I think next year you're gonna see a lot of eyes on that 3-point contest because Dame could be going for his fourth. I think Clay could be going for his third? Yeah, he could be going for his third. And I can't remember what number it would be for Steph if he were to win, but I know he's won a couple, I believe. So it just goes to show people want to see their favorite players compete. They want to see what it is. And with the trend of the way that the game is going now, with 53s being at minimum, the more that's like bare minimum. You got to take 53s. Everybody being able to stretch the floor is a thing now. So I think that style of play is more conducive to what fans are used to seeing now, as opposed to that rough and tumble game that we used to grow up on. So yeah, I think that the attention to the 3-point contest has definitely garnered more attention over the years just because the way the NBA is trending as well. Like Steph made it popular, obviously. Then Dame also helped, pave the way for it too. Dame, Clay, and Steph are probably the 3 best shooters that we've seen in this new generation. They just have it. Like we've seen Dame and Steph being able to, extend what a normal 3 looks like. We've seen them go on streaks where they are on a heater, they're pulling up from half court with no effort. So we looking at the 3-point contest the way that we should be looking at the dunk contest with more, with more respect, with more, attention. But I don't get that anymore when I look at the dunk contest. But I definitely see why, the casual fan gets excited when they see a 3-point contest because it's nothing like seeing a guy go on a heater, go on a heater and hitting 9 straight. You just can't replicate that feeling. Like, so that's why I think that the 3-point contest, just based off of how the game is played now, has gotten more, I would say it's gotten more, attention because of the fact that stars still compete. The best 3-point shooters want to go out there and compete. They want to show that I'm the best. And I think that that's what we're missing from the dunk contest. The best dunkers don't want to compete. Like, if you tell me that you're the best at one particular skill, show me. If you feel that you are the best at anything, you got to show me. Because at this point, I would rather them replace the dunk contest with a one-on-one tournament. Let's just see you guys go one-on-one. If we ain't getting nothing else, we can at least see who's the best ISO players. We can at least see something like that. It'll be different, but I'd rather see that now than watch guys go out there and put on lackluster dunk performances and then have judges give them high scores out of pity because I don't know what Dwight Howard was doing. Like, we used to have to work hard for 47s. You just giving them out for casual dunks. I don't really understand what that was about. And I'm like,
I'm glad he was there because it's like I want a slam dunk contest champion or a guy who actually built his career off of being able to tear the backboard down, being a judge. But not if you gonna do that. Don't ever feel like that you got a space to do that again because you giving out 47s and 48s to Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes would not have even gotten into the 40s if I was a judge. He would have got the lowest possible score that I could have possibly gave. He would have got the same equivalent of a score of a guy who, remember how you used to get those minimum 35s if you missed the dunk. He would have got that, and that would have just been thanks for coming, thanks for trying, but you get nothing as far as an actual. You're not getting any points from me. You would have got whatever I can give you without being, without them just saying, "No, you can't do that." That's what I
KB,
would.
I don't remember who it was, and I don't remember the exact year, but I remember a year where there was somebody who competed in the dunk contest and missed every single one of his dunks on the second round, and his final score was a 30. I don't remember who it was, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He deserved every little bit of that 30.
I mean, Matt, you got anything else you want to add in on this? Because KB said a mouthful there.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything else to add after that.
All right, fellas, let's get to some quick hitters, man. Gonna start off with Chris Paul officially retiring after 21 seasons. He had a great impact on the game. It's a shame that his career is ending the way that it is, with him being sent home and not really being able to properly close it out on a team. But shout out to CP3, man.
Oh man, CP point guard, one of the best point guards in NBA history. Grew up watching CP. I remember watching him play coming in with the New Orleans Hornets, especially with me being in Louisiana. He was one of the best players in franchise history. Forced his way out of there. Uh, well, let him tell it he didn't force his way, but I'm gonna leave it up for another conversation another day. But got out of New Orleans, got to LA, man, became part of Live City, had some great runs out there, came up short a few times, and then man, he got to my Houston Rockets, and he that's the closest we ever got to winning a championship post Hakeem the Dream era. So CP, I got respect for him. I know he was a hard player to play with based on what players said. I don't know the man personally, but he was always one of my favorite players. He was always one of my favorite point guards, and he was always somebody that I respected. One of the last true superstar point guards, traditional point guards that we got left. A lot of these hybrid combo guards that we got masquerading as point guards, but really a shooting guard nowadays, which are great players. No shade to them. But as far as a traditional point guard, CP3 was the man, and I would want a traditional point guard to lead my team any day, and it would be CP3.
You can make the argument that the San Antonio Spurs made the leap that they took this year because of the impact that Chris Paul had on that organization last year, despite it being a losing season and Victor Wembanyama having his troubles with blood clots too. But you can just feel just some of the sprinkles of the dust of the knowledge that he left in that organization. You can see it all over the place now, especially when you look at how Stephon Castle plays. When you look at the time that he and De'Aaron Fox got to spend together last year at times sharing the backcourt, Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox. I'm sure CP was a really good mentor to De'Aaron Fox in the short time that they had him last year, because they traded for De'Aaron Fox like right before, or well, yeah, right before the All-Star break, because that was around the trade deadline. KB, what are your thoughts?
Well, X, before KB go real quick, go back even further. His impact on the OKC with SGA. SGA
Absolutely.
raved about the impact CP3 made on him in his short time when he was with OKC. And the time CP3 was there was SGA first time making the playoffs with OKC. On why CP3 was the lead guard there.
And you can't leave out what he did with the Phoenix Suns either, helping take Devin Booker to that next
Yes,
level.
yes.
Yeah, y'all made a good point. A couple of good points about his leadership and how he's had impact on certain players. The only unfortunate part about Chris Paul is that he is going to be a victim of this ring culture. He's going to be viewed as the same way that you view a lot of the all-time greats that did not win. I think he had his opportunities. A couple of those Houston Rocket teams that went toe to toe with those KD Warriors. the Phoenix Suns team that, was up 2-0 against the Bucks. So he had his opportunities, but that doesn't take away from the career that he had. Like Matt said, one of the real floor generals, one of the best floor generals we ever had in the league. One of the last few traditional point guards that was out there. I don't think people understand the highest of heights that he reached. He helped put New Orleans on the map. He finished, I don't think people remember that 07-08 season when he finished second to Kobe in MVP voting. Like, you ain't seen a traditional point guard finish either MVP or, because the last few point guards that we've seen, they've been combo guards. They've been guys that have been like the SGAs, the Russell Westbrooks, the Steph Currys. Those have been the guys that have won MVP. But a traditional point guard going out to do what he did, we hadn't seen anybody other than Steve Nash be a traditional point guard and win MVP or even come close to winning MVP like that. So Chris Paul's leadership, his knowledge, his IQ, I don't think that a lot of he got a top 10 IQ for the game. That I can pretty much definitively say that because I haven't seen too many guys that he knows rules that a lot of the referees don't know. That just lets you know that he was just locked in on a different type of level when it came to knowing everything that needs to be, known on a basketball floor. I think that he helped shape a lot of guys' careers. Like you said, SGA, who's to say that his career would have even been the same had he not gotten that mentorship from Chris Paul? Who's to say that, guy like Devin Booker wouldn't have taken the leap that because you got to think about it. Devin Booker, and this is no disrespect to him, he was a perennial loser in Phoenix before. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing for him to do. Like, they had moments, especially
Devin
in the
Booker had at one point a 70-point game that he had with the Phoenix Suns, and they still lost to the Boston Celtics by like 20 something points.
Exactly. That just lets you know that they had moments with the Suns. He had moments with the Suns, but he could have never imagined what Chris Paul brought to that team along with, a couple other guys, but Chris Paul helped get them to that finals. He was like the engine. We knew that Devin Booker was the best player, but Chris Paul, they don't get there without him. I don't think that, I think that if he doesn't go down with that injury, it's a possibility that they could have been in the NBA Finals. And I think they would have won one, at least one. They were loaded. I don't think people remember that Houston team with that run and gun, shooting 5 seconds or less type of offense or 10 seconds or less offense that Mike D'Antoni was running. I think that people forget. They gave KD, Steph, and Clay, and I'm talking about prime KD, Steph, and Clay, a run for their money. They definitely would have, in my opinion, got at least one. At least one.
I'm going to give you another team Chris Paul was a part of that I think really would have made it interesting for that particular Warriors group. The 2015 Clippers. They were up 3-1 in the second round of that series against the Houston Rockets. And I know Blake had been a little dinged up. I know Chris Paul came into that series dinged up. I believe he missed the first 2 games of that series dinged up because he got hurt in that game 7 against San Antonio where he hurt his hamstring, but he toughed it out and finished it out. And they needed him to because if he doesn't make the play that he makes, they don't even win that game. But if you got the Warriors against the Clippers in 2015, are we even talking about the Warriors making it to the finals that year? Remember, the Clippers had just beaten them in the playoffs the year before in 2014 in the first round of in a 7-game series. So the Clippers go into that series with knowing, no, we know we can beat this team. They think they can beat us. It's so many what ifs that could have changed the course of history during that time period.
Definitely. I think that, I'm not gonna say too much on him, but shout out Doc Rivers for initiating yet another choke job, man. I that was one of the worst ones I seen, being up 3-1 like that, because I do think that those Clipper teams were too talented not to at least get to a Western Conference Finals. Like, just from top to bottom, they had a lot. But like I said, well deserved, flowers for, a career that, spanned 2 decades. He was the last one other than Bron of that, banana boat crew. Actually, he wasn't in the banana boat crew, I believe. I think it was just Wade, Melo, and Bron.
No. It was Wade, Melo, Braun, and CP3.
Okay, so yes. So outside of LeBron, he was the last one of the banana boat crew. I think that, ring culture shouldn't be the determining factor when you're looking at a guy like him because he brought so much to each team that he was on. I just think that, how he's gonna be critiqued. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but how he's gonna be critiqued amongst like casuals is gonna be he didn't win, so it doesn't really matter. And I hate that because I feel like that if we're gonna just start basing it off of ring culture, it's gonna be a lot of guys that's gonna fall into some unnecessary conversations based off the fact that they didn't win NBA finals. So I think that, he's one of the greatest point guards of all time. Definitely top 10. If you have him top five, I understand. If you have him top seven, I understand. I think it really is just your preference on point guards. But as far as traditional point guards, yeah, you gotta put him at least top five, at least at bare minimum.
Another quick hitter for you. LeBron is rumored to be out of LA after this season. However, a report came out this week that the Lakers would welcome a return. I'm about to say what I'm about to say, not because I'm ready for LeBron necessarily to leave LA, but LeBron shouldn't even want to come back at this point. And the reason I say that is because the Lakers have allowed all these other reports throughout the course of the season to sprinkle out there about, oh no, the front office has had enough of him, rifts between him and Jeannie. They've allowed all of this stuff to come out, even though they've tried to do damage control with it. Now, all of a sudden, we got this report. Oh, no, they would welcome a return. All of a sudden, no, you're LeBron James. You're Mount Rushmore all-time player. You're better than this. Go back home to Cleveland. If next year is going to be the last year, go back home to Cleveland. They got a championship squad ready for you to go over there and join, and you can possibly close it out by getting ring number 5.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, don't go back to Brian. I've been preaching for LeBron to leave for the last 2 years, honestly. X know this. I've been preaching for LeBron to leave for the last 2 years, so don't go back, man. Go to Cleveland, have your farewell tour, possibly get one more ring. Cleveland been looking pretty good with James Harden and Mitchell, so it might be something you could add on. And watch out for the Washington D.C. as a potential team as well. I think they may be in the mix to get LeBron for one last year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm with you, X. I think he needs to go back to Cleveland. It's kind of just like, somebody trying to hold on to a relationship. You already got your foot out the door, but they want you to stay, but you ain't got no intention of staying. I think this has already been up in his mind with all the reports that's coming out. Their unwillingness to, really put together a top tier squad to compete for a championship. I think that it's kind of ran its course. I think that, what he did in the bubble, LA is always going to be appreciative of him for helping bring a championship back after, the years, you know, when Kobe was on the tail end of his career and they weren't competitive. I think that, they owe him some gratitude because he helped bring them back to prominence. I don't think that they even have a Luka Doncic on the squad if they don't have a LeBron James on the squad to help, position them to at least compete for a championship. So, but I do think this is one of those things where it's too much bad blood, too much animosity between the front office and LeBron and his camp as well to even welcome back a return. I think that this is his last year in LA. And if, I think that next year is his last year. And what better way to go out in front of, Cleveland where you still got a chance to compete. Like X said, you got James Harden and Donovan Mitchell who have said they're going to be actively recruiting LeBron this summer to come back to Cleveland. I think they got as good a chance as anybody right now at this point because if he still has that fifth title in mind, that will put him in a lot of people's, push him ahead of Michael and a lot of people's GOAT conversations. That has to be part of his focus right now because the Lakers, unfortunately, they're not in the basement, but they're not at the top in the penthouse either. So they're in that kind of like middle area. So I think that he would welcome a return back to Cleveland at this point.
KB, you weren't nice about the dunk contest. You're being nice about the Lakers. I'm gonna be the relative Lakers fan on this point, and I'm gonna keep it 100% funky. The Lakers are a shit show right now, and they're waiting for Mark Walters to come in and fully put his imprint on there as the owner and get this stuff cleaned up. Next quick hitter for you: Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine. Both their seasons are over, undergoing season-ending surgeries earlier this week. I believe this is the right thing for them to do. They weren't going to be able to be traded to a contender at this point to go help anybody out. And why just continue to go out there and put up empty calorie stats for an organization that doesn't even know if they're coming or going?
Hey, let the tank begin, baby. Let it continue. I love it. I love it. You're gonna be bad, be your worst self. I love it.
Yeah, they tank. Let them tank out. I'm gonna be really, really quick. The horrible thing about the Sacramento Kings is they don't have any Asian superstar that's been around. All they superstars, quote unquote stars, are older players who never was a top tier talent. Zach LaVine, DeRozan, Westbrook, all are good players in their own right, but was never a player outside of Westbrook. Maybe in his prime was like a top tier guy. Westbrook was. So I don't want to be disrespectful to Westbrook. He was, but Zach LaVine, DeRozan was never that. And then they don't have any young superstars on the come up, or any young stars on the come up. So they're like in a horrible spot where they don't have a future, they don't have a past. They just a team in the middle of nowhere, just tanking to get the next best player out the draft and have no sense of direction. It's a horrible situation to be in. And
And
I
they
and I
absolutely did it to themselves.
oh yeah, they had Tyler Hasbro, got rid of him. They had De'Aaron Fox, got rid of him. They had star players and they had good up and coming players and they get rid of them. It's just like I seen a report that said they were trying to go after Darius Garland. I was just like, you just had De'Aaron Fox. You had Tyrese Halliburton. It's just it's a frustrating situation. I literally have no idea what the Sacramento Kings are doing. I never seen an organization be so ran so poorly than the Kings in my NBA life. And I'm not being a prisoner of the moment. I'm being honest. I never seen an organization be ran as bad as them in this very moment.
Well, Matt, who would say you being a prisoner of the moment? For most of our lives, the Sacramento Kings have been terrible. There was a little sprinkle during our childhood, our very early childhood, where they were an NBA championship contender with Chris Webber and Mike Bibby and Peja Stojakovic and company. But for most of our lives, they've been awful.
Yes, agreed, agreed, agreed. I just didn't want people to throw a team like the Charlotte Hornets and all Bobcats in there and say, "Nah, they're a better or worse franchise." But no, I agree.
All right, one more quick hitter for us. Kyrie gonna miss the season and continue rehab. Yeah, Dallas isn't going anywhere this season. This is absolutely the right move. My only question I have is, has Kyrie played his last game for the Dallas Mavericks? And I think that's a viable question because I think there's a strong chance they could move on from him in the offseason and he ends up elsewhere as they continue to embrace Cooper Flag and the youth rebuild that they have going on down in Dallas.
Not a bad idea. It might be best Kyrie's in his interest to go ahead and move on. Let them get some draft picks. They got a decent amount of draft picks for AD. Go ahead and move on from Kyrie, get a few for him, let him go to somebody else and finish out his career. 'Cause he's on the tail end of his career as well. He's no spring chicken like he once was. Kyrie's about to be what 33, 34. So he's getting up there as well. So it's about time for Kyrie to move on and kind of close out his career and see what else is out there for him.
KB, where
Yeah.
you sit on this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like it wouldn't really be no benefit coming back, unless you can mentor guys without being on the floor. But at 33 years old, it's not much he's gonna be able to do to help the Mavericks right now. Let Cooper Flag continue to trial by fire. Let him continue to develop. Then see what you got coming back. But if things continue to go bad, I can see them moving off Kyrie by next season. And that might be the best thing because he's one of those guys I would like to see him be able to compete again for a championship because him being in Dallas, that's been his best shot since Cleveland. So, well, I ain't gonna say that Brooklyn would have been his best shot if it wasn't for those circumstances with the injuries and everything, but and the mess that played out in Brooklyn. But he deserves to be able to compete for another championship because, like I said, Kyrie's still one of the best like showmans that we got in the game. So I would love to see him back out there. But like I said, this year is a wash anyway, so you might as well just let it ride out, continue rehab, get healthy, and prepare for next season.
two teams that he is possibly being linked to for the offseason if he does indeed not play another game for Dallas, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're both intriguing situations for somebody of a Kyrie Irving's talents. Well, that's going to wrap it up for part one of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. We'll be right back with part two. We got to get into some NFL news, man, and how one of those sleeping giants who used to be on top of the world fell off this season, easily could find themselves back there again in a few years. XKB and Matt coming at you. We'll be right back.